Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. Welcome back to the show. We are so excited to have our next guest joining us here today. Once again, it's Victor Liberatore, our amazing interior designer. Welcome back to the show today. How are you?
Great, Jill. How are you doing?
Fantastic. How was your little week off and your working weekend?
Last weekend we were in Rehoboth looking on a project for Gail's working on, and so I had to catch up this weekend. So I had to work all weekend just to catch up from last weekend from taking off. That's the way it works.
It happens. All right. Well, it's a pleasure to have you back here. And for those new time listeners who may not know of your beautiful work, we want to direct them right away to your website so they could start looking or just search your name. It's Victor, Victor Liberatore, interiordesign.com. And he's from Stevenson, Maryland. But boy, oh boy, world renowned interior designer here joining us again and excited to have him back with all his projects. So, what would you like to start off with for your listeners today?
We're going to start off with a project we did probably about 20 some years ago, but it was a project that we did and was very contemporary, and some of it was influenced by Las Vegas, the Luxor Hotel. So you'll see
Oh,
that when
wow.
I pull that up a little bit, and let's see if we can get there from here. All right, can you see my screen?
Yep. Well, not yet. I mean, I see you. I don't see your sharing screen.
Okay, one second.
Yep.
Here we go. That should be visible now.
Yes.
This was a ground level condominium we did 20 some years ago, and it was for a young man. I'll call him a young man, and his new fiance. So we worked on that. They were probably in their 60s at that time, and it was a total rework of the entire environment, ground level, and was we actually repurposed some of the furniture was there and refinished them. And this is you're seeing a shot of the living room, and this whole wall was built out with fireplace and these interesting panels on the side were sculpted in with bookcases and lighting, things of that nature. So it was a very soft palette. We used most of the existing furnishings for there, but we tweaked everything. And this happened to be on the cover of two things once was the Sun magazine or Sun papers, and then Home and Design magazines at the same time. One of them wasn't happy, but that's the reality of life when you get down to the big world. And here's the influence of the Luxor Hotel. We did these pilasters, which are glass, and this canopy here of drywall that looks like a temple or something entering into it.
Wow.
So this if you look in the daytime, you'll see out these windows. It's a beautiful sight there. This is uh the wife picture because she had to have her picture in things. So that's the way things work when you do projects like that. This is
Wife's input, you mean?
wife's input. Mostly wives have input. 90% to 10% of the husbands have input. Keep everybody happy.
Yep.
I'm getting into a little bit of a psychological thing here because there was a artist that was dealt with the art of random chance. And what I did here, see these spots here, they're squares of
Yeah.
carpet. I actually had squares of carpet, threw them in the room wherever they landed. That's what we put
Okay.
into the space itself. So it's kind of fun. I like to take philosophy and make it become alive
Yeah.
because of the way we do things. This is home office. We can see part of that. And underneath here, back here is a hard surface, so he can roll his desk chair around it. A lot of people use those plastic desk things. They do nothing but ruin your carpet and
Yep.
the whole environment itself. This is the bedroom. This was the bed of contention here because
What
why I
what
say that is
happened
that you
here?
have two new husband and wife. They're in their 60s, and what I did was I put in at the time there was we all have adjustable beds now. This was a Craftmatic bed, so it was a
Mm-hmm.
forerunner to the beds, and I did that because if one of them got sick, it would be oh, there's a tail in front of me. That's Poppy. I knew they'd get into the action. So this is a Craftmatic bed with a custom headboard, and the bulkhead is all customized, and all the colors were soft. There was like wallpaper all over the place in this environment. So getting back to this thing, later in time, one of them got sick, so they needed to use the bed as a
Okay.
resting place. Though they didn't like me in the beginning, but they liked me in the end because we did things that were appropriate for the space and their age itself. These are custom night tables that we designed, the custom bed, and then we move into a. Oops, for some reason my fingers are fast today. This is
Okay.
a custom bathroom that we did for the space itself. So this actually has a curved shower with curved glass. I do everything that's very easy, as you can see. And
Okay.
this actually is the client said she used to call this her mountain. So you should look out and see her mountain. It's actually in Stevenson. I'm not too far from that space. I live pretty close to that right now. So this is a bulkhead, floating bulkhead. There's no means of visible support here.
Okay.
I do things that are very dramatic. And this is going to be the last shot. This is a shooting into the mirror. These are actually Ruburn night medicine cabinets here. So you're seeing a shot of the entire room just by looking into a mirror. And I love doing that. So, and here's what got me in trouble.
Uh-oh.
This is a cover page from the Sun magazine. They published it at the same time it was being published in the magazine, and somebody didn't like that. So it was I had to live with that for years
Ah.
on down the road. But I didn't know they were doing that, but it happened to me anyway. I think the photographer did this is what did a fantastic shot of the whole space. He captured everything that we didn't capture in
Hmm.
in the other aspect of it. So it was kind of fun. Going back to my shot,
Beautiful.
that is the room as it's seen. So
Okay.
it's kind of I love this space. It's something you can do. All my work I do one time, so I move on to the next level and
Just
find
curious,
something.
that wall there to the left, what is that? The white and the gray? Is that stone? Is that
That is a
wallpaper?
faux finish. Actually, I'm the
Oh,
young lady that did this. I'm still working with her today, and she's done several projects recently. And coming up, I'll see you one that she did a concrete finish. It was like a 20-foot ceiling, 20-foot
okay.
wall, and this is all faux finish. Um,
Nice.
Interesting thing about the ladies that did this, they all actually because they're women and men always try to uh, connect with them. They wear chains and things in their pockets, so they look like they're very rough and they're very tender ladies. So it's kind of fun. So that's a shot of what a previous project I'm presenting today. What I would like to show is one we're working on now. We've been through several iterations with this. That this is a shot of our website cover page, and this rotates at 4 or 5 different things. This actually was a nice project. It was a show house. I actually did in Johnny Nice's house. He was a number 19 for the Colts when they were in Baltimore many
Mm,
moons ago. But let's see what I have for you today.
sure.
All right, can you see that table of contents?
Yes, I can.
Okay, this is page one part. This first part is phase one. This is part phase two. And there's a phase three we're working on now, which is probably going to go to a phase four. And I may have seen this before on a previous podcast, but what I do is take photographs of the interior space. And the interesting story about this project, this is a house that my client bought because his wife wouldn't allow him to have a cigar lounge in his house. So he goes out and buys a townhouse so he can do that. And you have to have a little bit of power and some guts to do that. So these are preliminary shots.
Wait,
There's
I'm looking at the shots that are scrolling by on the video.
oh wait, I'm sorry.
Is that not the right one? Because it's like a
No,
whole house, a whole
hold on.
condo. It says fine interior design, architectural detailing. I'm in a
There we
living
go.
room. I'm in.
Now you should see
Ah,
it.
there you
Okay.
go.
Thanks for bringing that to my attention,
So
Jill.
sorry. When you mentioned table of contents, I thought that was the table of contents and we were starting with the pictures. I'm
Right.
sorry.
This is phase one, this part. Phase two,
Okay.
and that's phase three. So I'm going to just go through quickly what we've done in the past. So
Sure.
we've done this in a previous podcast, but the images here are all pre-shots, which I do to show my clients what they're living in, what their spaces are showing everyone else that comes into the space. Most people are very pleased with their photos. Some are shocked because when you live in an environment, you're not used to what's around you and you just see it every day.
Yeah.
And things like of that nature, we don't put into our consciousness. Oops. This was a couple bedrooms that are just going to have some artwork and things cleaned up in that space. These are some what Zig Ziglar would call guttural sketches that I get the energy from that space and draw these things in about 3 seconds. So there's different concepts that happen. And in the first phase, we draw up a floor plan, which is relative to every project itself. And I've removed the name of the project so
Okay.
they have total privacy. My computer's moving fast. These are first level floor plan that we did. This is actually broken into. This is actually a living room. This is a living dining area, which we've broken into lounge areas. And this was the first iteration or design we did, leather seating and sculptures that came out of the wall. I loved to use these pieces, but found out they were only like 3, 4 inches in size. I thought they were like 30 some
No.
inches. So that negated that. And this is phase two or floor version two of a floor plan with a different type of seating. This one has a pool table, what the client does not like. He's a table tennis guy, not a pool table guy. So this is the other area here. This was a pre-existing kitchen, so we've utilized that into the space. A hair trigger here. This was floor plan with in blue. I found out he doesn't like blue, so that's
Hmm.
we're moving on to a different direction. This was the pool table, and you see something into the other space, as you see from the area one. So this was floor plan number two or number
Okay.
three. And with the seating area, these are actually ottomans that will float around. There's a TV here. And later idea we had was putting some built-ins here. This is an area rug, which he does like area rugs. You learn a lot with people when you present something to them. And this was some of the furnishings we pre-selected for him. These are some renderings, and these are sort of crude renderings because I don't spend too much time, which takes about 4 hours to set up a rendering. All the materials aren't in my program, so I have to actually create them from two-dimensional elements into three-dimensional elements.
Hmm.
So here we're moving into the second level, and we put in some tables and some ottomans, and these are elevations of the space itself. So you see what we put in. We pop some color in here. There'll be a sculpture on this wall here. There's a built-in that's going in here.
Okay.
I did some floating shelves here, which were kind of interesting. So this was the furniture from phase two that is actually leather. He's a very contemporary gentleman, so we brought some contemporary pieces in. These are actually carpet tiles where we use them on a floor and the walls. And here's his little humidor. This was phase two elevations and perspectives. And I put a notation here because a lot of people think this is the way it's going to look. It's just a
Yeah.
representation of the space itself. These are actually I-beams that come from a company that does some fantastic work. And if you notice, I've darkened all the walls to a dark
Yeah.
color because I think cigar lounge should be very moody. Here's another shot of that. This is actually a bump out wall here. We put in a vertical fireplace, which is electric. And this was the phase three of the
Oh,
renderings we utilized. The big change was the sconces over the island and bringing a backsplash.
okay.
Going into the other area, you can see where the kitchen is. It's very contemporary, very clean. I must have a hair trigger finger.
So,
So
no,
this
no.
is the other area of the area. These are high back chairs or swivel.
Okay.
So they are being replaced with something a little bit different. And I like to show them different
Ooh.
possibilities of different furniture because one piece does not have to mean that's what I'm presenting. It's everything
Okay.
else that, excuse me 1 second.
Okay.
These are some lighting selections we made. These three actually ended up being in the direction we're going right with now. All these were presented, but they're not going to be used in this presentation. And here we come to the big change, which I just presented to him yesterday, so I'm going to hear it from him today, I'm sure. So this is the table contents as we use the revised floor plan. And there's the revised floor plan. This has a luxury vinyl tile in the this area here, and this is going to be wall-to-wall carpet. The idea of these ottomans so they can flex and move around to the space. So there's movement in the space as he needs for his presentation. So this is updated version of some furnishings. Leather sofas, loves leather. These are actually simulated I-beams that are going to go into the wall in that configuration. And they're ottomans, and this will be the side tables that were around the ottomans themselves.
Yeah. So
And
cool.
here's the color pop. So I brought in this actually, sometimes things happen by accident that are very effective. I was trying to put a color into this table and it hit the wall. So I changed the wall to gold and I kind of like that, the way it looks.
Yeah.
And this is where the built-in is. You're going to see a version of that that's clear. And then here is a space going into the other area. The draper here is going to be flat panels and they're removable. They can also change in color.
Okay. Wow.
This is a version, this is a line rendering version of the space itself. So you can see where the actual furniture is. And
I like
there's
that
actually recessed
corner
light in each one of
cabinet.
these
Okay.
shelves. So my program has by 8 different variations of how I can present renderings, and this is one of the two.
Okay.
And here is the updated version of the furnishings. These are swivel chairs, and I know he doesn't like blue, so we came in and gave him an option. He loves that direction,
Hmm.
so it's warm, rich, and these are actually sliding panels as opposed to a typical vertical blind because he just needs more privacy than louvering the light.
Yeah.
This is actually a wall covering Valhalla. It's customized and it can be up to 10 feet tall. So we have plenty of room. These actually are like 30 inches wide. They trimmed to like 27 and we line up in a direction, which pretty much looks like this. So all these will be 30 some inch panels that are lined up in a direction. So there's a sequence that they go move into. And this is the other version shooting from, you can see from space to space. What I did is tie in these areas together. So
Okay.
they looks like one continuous space. I think that's what I have. If anyone has any questions, I'll be glad to answer them today or at any time in the future. So
How can we reach out to you, Victor? Would you mind sharing?
it's going to be Victor Liberatore Interior Design, 410-486-6942, or my mobile at 443-415-4581.
And specifically that project that we've been looking at here, where is this? And for you don't tell us
This is
who,
in
but
Lanham,
it's
Maryland,
for.
which is near Bowie, which is
Okay.
near DC. That's a close proximity of where it is.
Okay. Now, how long did it take to prepare these renderings?
Well, I put the renderings. Let's go back to this. The renderings I did for this, it takes about 8 hours to set this up because I had to take a two-dimensional element. Let's say, for instance, and go back. I
Okay.
take this table and I have to make it three-dimensional. I have to take it as a transparency and then eliminate all the backgrounds and then put that
Mm-hmm.
into the space and scale it in. So it looks like it's easy, but it takes a lot of time. I can actually take this chair and reproduce it and something like that. It comes as a flat image, but I had to put something in the plans that looks like it's a volume, and I
Uh-huh.
translate that into something other.
Wow.
The lights here, I in the space itself, I sort of simulated. Those are simulated. These actually comes a three-dimensional element, and I input light into it, so it looks like it. So at first glance, it looks like it's pretty easy to do this. I took about 10 hours on Saturday, and yesterday I had about 5 hours into it. And I had so many windows open, my program crashed. So I had to start almost all from the beginning. It was like I was not a happy camper, but it happens sometimes. And I'll learn a lesson not to have 10 windows up that are renderings. It takes a lot of
Yeah.
energy to do that. So
Oh, do you save it every time to make sure you don't lose it, or does that not, does it
I forgot to
automatically
save
save?
it sometimes. It
Oh,
went back to the day before, which is not a fun thing, but I'll learn from my mistakes. It's if you don't, it's called insanity. You don't learn from your mistakes.
I've
You
done the
keep doing the same
same.
thing over and over again. That's not the way to do it. So
I've been there. But yeah, now the programs, shouldn't they automatically save? There's got to be a way
it
to,
does automatically save, but I think I had too much open and shut the whole
oh,
program down, and I was screaming a little bit yesterday, to say it mildly,
all
but
right,
I learned my lesson. But
we'll get
that's
through.
fun.
We'll get through. All right, good. And what else did you want to share for today about you, your style, your work ethic? My goodness, there's even more pictures, whatever you want to share.
Let me see what I have here. This one here. This is a video. If it comes up, it may not come up, but of a child's bedroom who was 15 years old. They buy her BMW X3, which is what I drive, and this is her room. She's a little spoiled little thing. The lights here, these are actually LED lights that change color and they move
Uh-huh.
from side to side. Originally, she had a light strip up here. We changed that totally. This is the preview of the room itself. And there's the light strip. It was just an LED strip. And there's my buddy Jeff.
Cool. Hey, Jeff. Wait, wait, I don't see Jeff.
He's not in it. It was just a write up I put in it.
Oh, okay. I'm like, okay, maybe look at the same picture. I'm
These are
like,
the
sorry.
drawings we did for the program.
Okay. Now, how do you
Uh,
describe your style?
My
Uh,
style is my client's style because I'm sort of like a chameleon. Whatever they want, I provide them. And when you can see that every project that I do is totally
uh,
different, that's that's saying that I listen to my clients and give them what they want as opposed to what a designer thinks and gives them what he
mm-hmm.
wants or she wants. Because it's very important to do work that people are going to be happy with and proud of.
Very true.
I think I may have shown this one before, shown that one before.
I'm still on the living room kitchen, the Lanham project.
Oh, we're still on that. I'm sorry about that.
Says auto save back. I hope it takes.
You're still on this one here.
Yeah, there we go. Oh, there we go.
All
It's
right, let me
moving.
see where I can. I'm going to stop share for a second. I'm going to jump back.
Sure.
Okay, now we're on Hal's.
Sweet.
See that screen?
Yep. I see
Okay,
house. Yep, we're on house. We're good. You're scrolling down. Redfin, Tradish. Yes, got it.
let's look at this one. This is for show house. When I do show houses, I get to do something a little bit more different and push the edge a little bit. So what we have here is all dealing with LED lighting. So these are
Okay.
all linear rods that are about inch
Okay.
diameter. This is a plexiglass box I made, which is backlit. So fanciful window treatment. This is actually just wire that I put on a rod that's very dramatic. Uh, As you can see from the side, we have a this actually was a show house we did. We didn't want to put a new floor in, so the flooring is actually a concrete paint that we painted on the
Okay.
floor. It's about $100 a gallon, so it's probably
Wow.
cheaper to do a floor surface than just do this itself. And this is my other half, Gail. She's an artist, and she
Aw.
painted this bust and this pedestal.
Wow.
So one piece of work itself.
Beautiful.
And we're probably running close to time. This is a shot from down
Yeah,
below.
we are, but don't worry. We got 2 more
So that is my pony show for today.
minutes. It was a great pony show. It always is. Ah,
Thank you.
beautiful.
So here's me. This is where I can be reached at victorliberatorinteriordesign.com. We've been on the web pretty much as long as the web's been out there, I believe. So that's a challenge in itself because I just love being out there.
And house, and just Google your name. We'll find you, of course. And for any questions, do you want to leave a phone number or just the website's fine?
410-486-6942.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing today, as always. Would you mind if I just ask that you stop sharing the screen? It's just easier to end this way. It's a more seamless edit. Thank
Okay.
you. Victor Liberatore Interior Design, reach out to him, tell him we sent you. And what do we have on tap for next week? Do we know yet?
We're working on it.
All
Well,
right.
there's some new projects that we're working on and maybe an update on the Lanham project. So we'll get that completed.
Thank you. Can't wait to see you. Have a fantastic day. Enjoy the rest of the day. Hope it's beautiful where you are. And
Thank you, Jill.
we'll talk soon. Thank you, Victor. And to all of our listeners, stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.